Hello everyone, I'm Anuradha Sant, your host for today. Welcome to this webinar hosted by the Coaches for You community, which is formed with volunteers from the ICF India coaches. This webinar presentation will be for 30 minutes, followed by a 15 minutes of Q&A. The topic for today's webinar is leading virtual teams, and to take you through this is our experienced coach, Dr. Latha Vijaybaskar. Latha is an accomplished leadership coach and an author of two books, 21 Difficult Conversations and Leading Emerging Learners. Her third book on self leadership will be published shortly. Latha has worked with multiple businesses in leveraging their teams to be a strength rather than a problem to be solved. And now, as we are ready to explore how we can lead our virtual teams more effectively, I would require you to get rid of all distractions and be completely with Latha as we go on. So, without further ado, I would like to hand this over to Latha. Welcome, Latha. The floor is yours.
I'm so thrilled to have all of you here with me. Let's move in because I think we are 5 minutes into the meeting. So I'm going to quickly start. Before we move on, this is the first thing that I want you all to do. What do you want to gain from participating in this webinar? Before we begin this journey, let all of us be clear where we are at the start point. So take a minute to figure out what is the one thing that you would definitely want out of this webinar. And it would make both our journeys easier if you can just jot that down in the chat box there so that people can actually see that. And Anu requests you to keep shouting those questions to me just in case we are missing some point somewhere. You can unmute yourself when we have an interaction point, because that's easier to move forward rather than wait till the end of the session. So take a quick minute, figure that out, and let's just move in. So from my side, we're here from my side so that we'll understand three major challenges of the virtual teams. I work virtually myself. I've been doing work from home for the last 4 years, and I deal with a lot of people from IT industry where many of them work from home. And today, yes, with the lockdown, everyone is forced to work from home. So whether you're part of a hybrid team that works sometimes and then you work in your co-located teams, or you're permanently in a virtual team, or you're planning to be part of a virtual team, this webinar will first think about the three major challenges that are there. Of course, the minute we say challenge, then what is it that we need to move towards? So we are here, and that's a challenge, and therefore, where do we need to move? And that is a countermeasure. And because we need to move from A to B, what do we need to do in between? What's the role that we as a leader needs to play? And these are the three things that we will look in depth. But before I move inside, can people shout out to me? Let's not even do the chat. Quickly, yeah. Which industry are you in? In that, it'll make my life a lot easier because I don't want to talk off tangent. And that's one of the biggest challenges in virtual. I don't even know who's here with me. Therefore, hi. Please unmute yourself and tell me which industry you belong to. Are you part of a virtual team always?
Yes, I'm into pharma. This is Safia Ali.
Safia Ali from pharma. All right.
Chitra from IT services.
Chitra from IT services.
Chitra is from IT services. Hi, Chitra.
Hi, Latha. This is Sahil.
Hi, Sahil.
I'm from automotive industry and take care of Live Pure and Safeguard.
Okay. Is there
Hi,
anyone
this is Pradeep from construction?
Beautiful. Hi, Pradeep.
Hi, this is Nasir. I'm into few businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. I run an event company, an exhibition designing company. I also own the franchisee for BNI in Coimbatore. Plus, we are into consulting and training as well.
Beautiful. To make this just shorter, I just want an industry.
Yes. Hi, Chitra. This is Tamjit from banking.
Okay. What are your biggest challenge in this virtual team? While we are doing all the other industries as well, quickly put that in your chat box. Anyone else from a different industry? We have IT, pharma, we have entrepreneurs.
From the air conditioning industry, HR department.
Beautiful.
So, Latha, we also had some people mention what they want to take away from this. Would you want me to voice out some of
Yes,
the?
please.
So, Suman says guidance for managing virtual team. Tamanna said
Okay.
understand challenges and solutions for leading virtual teams.
Beautiful.
Mohammed mentioned how do we ensure productivity of team working remotely. And Farah mentioned what are
Love
the
that.
most vital skills of leaders when managing virtually. So these are some of the
Beautiful.
which came up. Yeah.
Thanks so much. It's just like, you know, everyone sat together with me while I was making this PPT. So there we go. All right. So
We have another one which just came in.
okay.
How do we have continuous meetings through a typical work day in work from home environment?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I will definitely take that as well.
Hi Latha, I'm Pushpa here. I'm from Education Department.
That's so nice. Fist bump. I'm also from the Education Department.
Yeah, thank you.
So while we move into the challenges, I think all the things that you have shared with me as what you want to learn, I think we will cover them in this three things: isolation, confusion, and efficiency. So the most important thing that demarcates a virtual team away from a traditional co-located team is the fact that we all work in fragmented, diverse, dispersed locations. And just by that, I mean that you are isolated here. A 10 o'clock meeting from your house probably may not mean 10 a.m. itself in another part of the country. It also does not mean that 10 o'clock your work environment is different. Now just imagine, we're losing out a lot of things. First, we're losing out that hi and the handshake and that hug and the fist bump and everything. There is that filter of body language, the energy, the attitude, and all these things are completely lacking when we come to a virtual environment. So the minute we all log inside, what happens in a virtual environment is we see only a thumbnail. And that is a very, very small thing for us to figure and build in that, sense of camaraderie and trust and collaborate and actually open up. And also, we're working in our own pockets. I know in a meeting that I'm supposed to bring in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have absolutely no idea what you are doing at this moment in time at 4 p.m. here in your life. What other agenda are you sacrificing? What other agenda are you multitasking? What other things that you are doing part of your life to sit down here in the meeting between 4 and 4:45? And that is the biggest form of isolation that we all feel in a virtual team. Now, this also means that instructions, when they are given, automatically leads to a lot of confusion. The confusion here can be knowing when a meeting is called in a co-located space. So we have a lot of time, to move in, bring that coffee inside, say, hey man, how was your weekend? And, run that talk and a chat and everything, walk inside, push that room, pull the chair in, figure out where do you want to sit? That's my friend. All these things are missing. When your boss tells you something, those eyes that meet across the table, the anger or the happiness does not show out here. Most importantly, the minute we are here, the biggest friend that you and I have, unfortunately, right now is that screen and that small pointed red thing right in front of me. I'm talking to that. Believe me, it took me a lot of time to figure out that I have to talk to that small dot on my laptop, and keep assuming that all of you are looking at me. It's a very difficult thing to do. I keep looking at all your faces down there and it doesn't look good. So I have to look back there. Okay? Confusion with technology. Confusion with what am I supposed to do at this point in time? Confusion because there is not much of clarity on how we don't see the whole picture. It's like having that beach ball. You know, we've all seen a huge beach ball that we play, which is kids play. You know, the color ones, red and yellow and orange and everything. We are all standing in each color. And to us, the world is our color. And unfortunately, we're not seeing the entire ball. That itself is a lot of confusion. Then is efficiency, of course. Productivity comes down drastically because of a lot of filter factors. When we are in front of only the laptop in a meeting, did you know that if you just keep a mobile phone right next to you, that itself is a big distraction to human interaction? Now imagine we are discussing into that mobile only. So we are using that most distracting tool to keep us focused. It's an irony, of course, but that's how we are right now. And visually, there is a lot of distraction. I know that my family members can come in anytime here. I know I have a life outside that. I also know that this small screen, which you're saying, is just a small factor of the larger whole. And for all of us, this is how it is. I'm also looking at myself through a pinhole. And for the first time, I'm actually worried. Okay, am I looking good? Half the time goes off in looking that also. And I'm checking out others. Oh, wow, that cupboard looks very nice behind you. Wow. So look at the distraction. Visual distraction during a virtual meeting is very high. At the same time, the auditory distraction is zero because we're all plugged with inside, you know, the earphones, and we can hear everything. And the silence sometimes, believe me, is deafening. So we are hit simultaneously with a very distracted visual sense and a very focused auditory sense. This itself is enough for a lot of confusion inside ourselves. To top it, this decreases efficiency. So three most important challenges. Most of what we're doing can be boxed and fit inside all these things. So where do we move from here? And what do you do? For me, the three challenges, from isolation, I would love to move to connection so that everyone on the team is connected. From inefficiency, I would love to move to our being ultra productive, and from confusion, of course, to clarity. Now, if I have to move from isolation to connection, what is my role as a leader? The very fact that we are isolated, we are working in dispersed, fragmented pockets all around the world, it means that I am a leader in my own pocket, which is in my house probably. But I need to create the connection everywhere. The traditional system of top-down leadership may not probably work in such a situation. For a simple reason, it's very difficult for me to lead another human being in another pocket of play around across the world, or even in the same city, because we work only in this small pocket of time. We don't work together 10 hours. So we don't see the entire picture. What is my role in that case? If we have leaders, everyone and everywhere, obviously, we all need to be leaders of ourselves first. So the first connection that we need to do to move from actually isolation to connection is to become a self-leader. So I have 4 skills here. The first one, always know yourself. Here, I am not really talking about a vague concept of self-awareness. You know, finding yourself, who am I? No, not really. At this point, I'm more worried about results, which happen in day-to-day work life. And therefore, the know yourself here is to figure out my strength and my weaknesses just for this particular work that I am doing. So let me talk about myself. Maybe myself is, I have 0 sense in technology. If something wrong happens in this entire setup, believe me, I don't know how to set it right. So I take a lot of pain much before to ensure everything is done. and learn and learn what happens to troubleshoot. And I always have someone in assistance for me, just in case to shout out for help. That's my weakness. What would be my strength? And how will I leverage it? What do I bring to people so that I can ensure that even if it is their weakness, how can I support? Having a very clear idea of where I want to go as well. What is my goals? And communicating them. Knowing my vision, my goal, knowing what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, having a clear understanding of what I can and what I cannot do. Now, this is knowing myself. Why is this very important? It's very important here because, as I said, we don't take breaks by the cooler. We don't take a coffee break together. We don't have lunch together in a virtual team. And therefore, people will not get to know you. You need to know yourself first and be clear about them. And an acceptance of all these things will help us to learn and grow. The next is to take responsibility. As an organization, as a team leader, a lot of things can be done. In fact, let me give you a beautiful example of Automatic. How many of you have heard that word company, Automatic? I'm sure you've heard their product, WordPress. They are a complete virtual team. The minute someone joins, believe me, they get a $2,000 stipend to set up their home office. So as a team, you need to take, as a team leader, you need to take responsibility. As an organization, you need to take responsibility. What are you doing for your team? If they don't know something, the onboarding needs to be very clear. So sometimes people fight. The first time someone joins into your team, if it was in a co-located place, we will take them out for coffee. We'll sit down in their cabin and talk to them. We'll say a hi and a hello and introduce them to the entire team. Please do that if you're in a virtual team as well. Take that small step. Bring them out for coffee. Okay? It's not possible. Don't tell me it's not possible. There are companies which just meet up once a week only to chat and have fun. It is called a dinner meet. Bring your food, sit in front of the laptop. We can do that. Most importantly, when we're saying self-leadership, meet your shadows. Every strength that we have casts a shadow. So if I'm a person who takes responsibility and I know that, okay, I know I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm an action-oriented person, it also means my shadow is that I probably tend to appear pretty impatient. It's a possibility. If I'm a person who can dream, ideate, strategize, I might have a shadow where attention to detail is just not possible. Meet your shadows first. You will know that in the virtual world, they will be, amplified. Once you meet your shadows, it's easier for you to deal with yourself. And therefore, you know that when you bring yourself from the isolated pocket where you're in, you can still create a lot of collaboration. Then, yes, of course, express your I perspective. The I perspective is not the me, and the me. No, the I here stands for information. So when we're talking and whenever what we want to learn, let's leave the emotion outside in the virtual space and look for information. Work from that space of curiosity and work for information. And therefore, ensure that you move away from just that pocket. How do you express your I perspective? Is asking for good information, talking in the perspective of curiosity, asking powerful questions to gain more perspective and information. When we are talking something, provide information-rich content. We move away from just that pocket there, isolation, to a connection. Of course, there still are some aspects of isolation which is related to productivity, which we will deal in the next ones. Yeah? Inefficiency, yes. All of us would love to be ultra productive, isn't it? Actually speaking, it is much simpler to be more productive in the virtual world. Study after study says most people are rather happier working from home than coming to the office. In fact, if you're having a poll, Anu, can we just have a quick show of hands? How many of you are happy working from home? I'm so sorry, I can't see that. Anu, you'll have to. Oh, there. Okay, 2, 3. I'm the first one. In fact, I've got a glow now. I'm so happy. The pollution is the lack of pollution is the first reason, but then I think I just love working from
Suman
home.
says office.
Lovely. There are 20 more people who want to come inside, I think.
No, everybody's in.
Oh, that's a chat. All right, sorry. So,
so yeah, miss the coffee.
Miss the coffee there.
Yeah.
Oh. So,
Jaya says very happy working from home.
Yes.
Rachna
But if you probably have toddlers and very young kids, then yes, then you're a referee in 2 playing fields, and that's a little difficult to manage.
So Rachna says it's enjoyable when everybody else is at office and I'm at home.
Nasser loves the office, but he's forcefully getting used to this.
Yeah.
So studies mostly say
Pradeep says prefer being out in the field. So neither home nor office. He likes to be outbound.
So the one thing that we definitely need to figure here is the productivity, because first thing to productivity is a happy team is a productive team. So therefore, the first task before task building and figuring out productivity and the tools and how to get things done, and let's move into the action, build your team. Build a team so that the task automatically becomes faster, has more productive places. And if we see a lot of people from HR and management, so we have learned the group behavior, you know, forming, storming, norming, performing. This is how the groups come together. And even in a virtual team, that is how they come together. So when they form, people are all from different pockets, and that is the place where the isolation is very important. We need to have a clear onboarding process of your team so that they come together, they know who they are. Spend a little time introducing yourselves, figuring out who you are, what are your likes and dislikes, what is it that you do beyond this few hours that you meet. When the call ends, how does your day go? What are the other projects that you're part of? What are the other tasks that you are doing? Have a common group probably where all these successes are shared. Team building is the first. So when there is that brings me to the second one, the beat the negativity effect. Believe me, right after this forming, there is the storming that happens in the group. You know, we're figuring out what is your place in the group, and who are you in that food chain. And at that time, all the conflicts that happen in a regular group, it is intensified in a virtual group. And this is the place where you need to be a little careful. Let me tell you, the negativity effect is a researched term specifically used for remote working, wherein people have researched to figure out that when we are talking, the negative aspects get amplified in a virtual space. So if you are writing a message, you're sending out an email, you are working on a conference call, be extra positive, more polite. So positive can be neutral, and neutral automatically becomes negative in virtual teams. Because remember, from the listener's side, he is working in isolation. He does not have the advantage of seeing the body language and the tone of voice and everything. And with the static, bad internet connection and all other technological problems and the insecurity that we innately have in us, automatically the dip in positivity will be there. Therefore, you have to beat that negative effect. For that, humanize your team. Socialize. Ask how they are. Take some extra effort. Message people. And our HR manager that I know has told me, Latha, you know something? I have given a strict rule in my team. No email unless and until there is a positive news. Okay? Then, the basic thing for team building there is to build trust at a distance. We are at a distance, but we need to build in this trust. How do we build that trust in? Now, if we were to look at how is trust built in a co-located team, the trust is not built inside a meeting room. The trust is built outside that meeting room. The trust is built when we go out for coffee. The trust is built when someone sits down right next to your cubicle and helps you out in a project. The trust builds when someone is there for you at that time of need. The trust builds when someone understands you in your time of need. If we are able to bring all these things into a virtual world, how do we bring that? I can see that frown. The one way to build and nurture them is, remember, if I were to ask you to draw a virtual team, if you were to draw a virtual team, how will you draw it? I think I have put one on the first page or first slide. How would you draw it? The drawing will be pockets of people with lines connecting them, showing the internet. Yes? That is exactly what we are. As a leader, we are not those isolated pockets, but we are the connection that builds. The way to build that trust is to ensure that we foster all those team connections there. Those team connections for us are very important. We are the connecting structures. That is the connection. Build very deep relationships, meaningful chats, talk to people outside this group also, but ensure that all information are kept into a big group. Very simple way. If you were in a co-located project and you had to plan, how would you brainstorm? Push that whiteboard there, scribble from this end to that end. Yes, just that you can do. Ensure that there is a shared Excel sheet. In fact, the number of information that is there in our shared Excel sheet, and let me tell you, an amazing leader is Anuradha there, okay, who has created folder after folder after folder for all our project planning for the coaches for you. And believe me, it's so easy. I know exactly where I stand in the food chain. I also know the larger picture of who and what everyone is doing. Builds in trust, the team connection is there, and foster productivity, foster absolute positivity, I said, because that needs to beat the negativity effect, and also constructive feedback. Now, constructive feedback here in a virtual team, very, very important for us to understand that there is a clear difference. What would we do when we have to give a feedback? We'll meet the person. We figure out, you have a time, you figure out that body language, the discomfort, everything is there. It's not there in a virtual team. And as I said before, please do not send any feedback in an email. It's very difficult to figure out. Pick up that phone or have a face-to-face video chat. And when we are at it, there are two things. One, do it immediately, of course. That's a very simple thing to say. Ensure that you immediately do it. There is also the fact that some people would say, sandwich it. Say a beautiful thing first, say something good, then push the very difficult conflict talk inside, and then sandwich it again with It need not be that way. It need not be that way. Specifically in the virtual world, because we are having a lot of filter and distraction, you will probably miss out the actual feedback that you're supposed to give. Therefore, I would actually advise you to go be very polite, because remember, your negativity gets amplified. Stick only to the information and the cause and effect and give a clear feedback. You can, of course, make it very constructive and end in a positive note. The positivity is, it is like this, you know, in school, we would have a teacher coming and telling us, okay, you got only 45 marks, fail. What would you want me to do with it? Nothing. You've just judged and hung me up. Now that is not a feedback. Tell me how to get that A, how to pass, how to be the topper. So your feedback, it need not be sandwiched, but it needs to show the way. I would rather have a person tell me, hey, Latha, listen, you know, this was not good. I think I did not understand ABC. I would have improved more if you had shown me 1, 2, 3. Believe me, I would have definitely ensured that 1, 2, 3 is there in the next program. That's one of the best kind of feedback that we would want to hear. And most importantly, remember when I said isolation, you have to be a leader, ask for feedback. And when someone gives it, please accept it. That way, we are closing all virtual loops neatly, and we're really living in an interconnected world. So the last one, how to move from confusion to, of course, clarity.
And quickly, Latha, if I may step in, there's a quick time check.
Okay.
Right, so we're already at 4:36. So
I just will finish this. This is the last.
And then if you want to leave some time for Q&A as well.
Sure.
Thank you.
So when we are in confusion, please think about it. What is the biggest source of confusion for you? Think about that. And if you want, you can definitely put that in the chat window as well. So from confusion to clarity, ensure that you have, it's a very simple process. Ensure everything is slotted. There are clear rules, norms, processes, and clarity on all activities, on all the resources, availability of them, time, everything. There is a clear clarity and rules on the process. There is an absolute clarity, which is called a team charter. With what perspective are we going to come in here? And a clarity on the environment in which we are going to deal with this. So these, if you have, I would request every one of you here to pull in a team charter for your virtual teams. So you tell them that these are the activities that we're going to do. These are the resources. These are the availabilities. These are things that we cannot do or we can. The processes for the working will be all these things. The perspective that you need to bring in to the team meeting is probably this, or to the project, or to your work at hand. Ensure that each one of them is very clearly mentioned in your team charter. And then, of course, is the environment. So in case you have someone to troubleshoot problems, ensure that all environmental conditions are clear and inclusive. So we might have people, cultural diversity, we might have people with skills diversity, we might have people with attitude diversity, we might have people with, just sheer time differences. So whatever be the differences, ensure that the environment is inclusive when they come inside the meeting. And we have space, both in our minds and in our time and in the project for all of them. And that's a quick recap there. So we have the 3 most important challenges. Isolation, if you want to have a great self-managed team, self-leadership is your definitive strength. Know yourself, and from there work inside out. Otherwise, you've seen a donut, isn't it? If the inside you is not there, then that's empty. Do not be a donut leader. Team building, before task building, always beat that negativity effect and build that trust. Set clear processes, check in regularly to remove any form of uncertainty to enhance productivity. Give constructive feedback, make sure that you beat that negativity effect and stay positive. And yes, I would take in any questions. You can unmute or you can type in the chat.
So thanks for that, Latha. So do let us know what you take away from this and what is the few things that you would like to do as you finish listening to this. So we have Tamanna talk about, do you know any specific method for feedback framework?
Okay, so in my book, I have written an entire chapter on how to give. There is an 8-step feedback. So I'll quickly tell that to you. 8-step feedback. The first one is do it immediately. Time and place are very important. The first thing is place within 24 hours of an activity happening. If you can, please pick up that phone, give that feedback. Second, all feedbacks, praise in public, reprimand in private, always. Third, the exact process of it, set a context. Any kind of feedback, either saying, hey, you're horrible, or if you say, hey, you're awesome, both are useless. They're a waste of time because I don't even know why you're calling me useless or why you're calling me awesome, because I don't know what about it you liked or did not like. Therefore, it would be very simple if you clearly say, listen, you have not done ABC, and therefore you just tell me the information. So read information, which is just facts. I notice you have not done ABC. What is the reason why you're bringing it? So this is your cause and effect, because of which my productivity in the other team has come down, or the team has been lagging behind because of this one activity not happening there on time, because of which the product deliverables have been delayed. This is a cause. I would then please put the question back to figure out why the person did not do it. It will automatically make the other person take a little bit of responsibility. What do you have to say about it? And when you have asked a question, please listen. Listen for their answers and then ask, how can I help you? Close it always with an action. So if you could not do this, do you think I can help you with something else? Or do you want a Thursday evening meeting? Or do you think you can just post this here? Ensure that there is an action statement. That call to action needs to happen for the feedback. And after all these things, thank them for taking in that feedback and appreciate that and close the relation. So that way you build that trust and rapport. So the argument is closed, but the relationship maintains. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you for that, Latha. And as we are coming to a close, and as you're thinking of more questions for Latha, I am going to launch a small feedback poll, and I would request each one of you to answer that. It won't take you even 30 seconds to do so. So I'm just launching this poll for all of you to give us feedback.
Nasser, that's for you. Does that say mirror? No, it doesn't. That's 21 difficult conversations. And I've done, this is quite a small handbook that I gave for people in the education sector, leading new generation learners, how academicians, we can have a better classroom with the millennial generation and the Gen Z.
So I've launched the feedback poll. You could continue to answer that. And in the meantime, Latha, we have a question from Pradeep, who says how to have continuous meetings through a typical workday in work from home environment.
I'm sorry, Pradeep, I did not understand that question.
How to have...
Hi. Can I just step in?
Yes, please do.
The idea is meetings that are scheduled are fine, and that's one way that everybody's working. But then in a typical, our work environment, we are used to interacting with people all the time, impromptu interactions. It may be with one or more people, 1, 2, or 4 people. Is there any solution out there for that, so that something that if I want to get in, if I want to instantly reach out to 1, 2, or 4 people, we just instantly have we can instantly communicate with each other, Are there any apps or any platforms like that?
So there
You
are
understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Absolutely. So there are two ways of doing this. I think the entire Zapier work office is on Slack. So we can have, you can have something like WhatsApp or Slack where you create your own group and keep doing it and send out messages there continuously to stay in touch. Also, you can pick up that phone if it's on a one-on-one, because believe me, a lot of these things happen more on the phone calls that you make and the voices that we hear. So I would request you to even have clear, there are Kanban boards which are on a shareable basis. So you create a group project board so that everyone just pushes what they want in, and you are able to see that board and you get this sense of wholeness and being part of a larger group. So there are a lot of these tools. Of course, many of the tools, probably your office itself is having an intranet. If your office has, figure that out. It's probably there. Otherwise, a lot of free tools. Slack is a great tool for it.
Well, thanks.
So as you're all answering the poll, I'm still I've kept the poll alive. There's a question from Shrikant, Latha, who's asking. Shrikant, we can't hear you. So can I
heard from. Is it clear now? Latha, this is Shrikant here. Is it clear now?
Yes, Shrikant, I can hear.
Yes. Yeah. Is there a feedback in the office or also in the home onto the female gender in a different way and male gender? What I read through John Cray is saying that normally females are more detailed. For suppose last project you have done this. That is the way we need to give it to the female resources or female team members. Or gents, it is just simply say that you have done a good job. That is sufficient. But I also experienced that when I doing your feedback or appreciation, that way it is working. Is it still hold good, or maybe what I was doing is the wrong or wrong sample? Feedback
I'm so
is
sorry.
feedback.
At that exact moment when I wanted to hear the thing, it went away.
Okay, I will repeat it.
Giving two different feedbacks to men and then to women.
Yeah.
So just to recap, if you can hear me, I think we can't hear you very clearly, Shrikant.
Okay.
So from what I could gather, what he's saying is that is it okay to have different kind of feedback mechanism for female and male counterparts?
Yes.
Do we have to give ladies more detailed feedback and men just saying good job, is that good enough, is what he wants to know.
Yes.
All right. So there are two things. Good job to man or a woman is not good enough.
Okay.
He is definitely not going to know what about that did you appreciate.
Okay.
So what is it that he should do what behavior should he continue to next time for you to say the same thing again? Because we are already, from a woman's viewpoint, I would rather have exactly the same way that you talk to a man, talk to me.
Thank you for that, Latha. I think very well said. Whether it's a man or a woman, you would require a complete feedback. You need to describe what the situation you observed, what was their behavior, and what was the impact of their behavior. I don't think anybody would just like a good job done kind of an answer for a feedback. So with that, I think we are at the end of our time, and I would like to request permission for closing the session. Thank you so much for the lovely feedback that you've provided us. We look forward to having you with us for our other webinars, which are going to be announced shortly. We would request you to log on to our website www.coachesforyou.in and register for all our future webinars under the Events tab. Also visit our website and see all the exciting resources like articles, blogs, and you can also register for a free coaching session with our most experienced coaches. And in case you're a coach, you can also volunteer to be a coach for our community. So with that, thank you so much for being with us today. We look forward to having you with all our other webinars which are coming shortly. And stay tuned. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.